Alright guys, back again. I know what you're thinking. 2 in a row? Are you crazy? I know, I'm back. I said I was going to be doing more reviews. So this is going to be like a flat out comparison, just a head-to-header between the NICEHCK Bro, which I got right here. These guys here, cool looking driver, or cool looking monitors, and there's some drivers in there. This is a dual balanced armature dynamic driver hybrid. I'm not sure how big the dynamic is, probably around 10 millimeters. The KZ ZS6 right here. The ES3, which are these guys, and the ZSR. There we go. ZS5, where are you? ZS5, here we go. And the new ES4s. So there we go. And I got some daylight, so that's gonna look nice. Yeah, so I don't know, I got the ES4s and I started thinking back about these other drivers, and I've been meaning to review the NICEHCK Bros for a while. I actually got those complimentary with an order from Jim at NICEHCK. So a shout out to Jim. He has been nothing but outstanding in terms of the speed of delivery and the professionalism. In fact, quick story, he sent me the wrong earbuds at one point in time. I had ordered K's 300 ohms, and I accidentally got the the NICEHCK house ones. I can't remember what the model is. So we got, I was allowed to keep those, and then he just resent the other ones. Of course, would have cost money to ship them back, but still, they were shipped quickly. So he's always been really professional. I've done a couple of written reviews for his stuff. And shout out to Jim and NICEHCK. They're a good and outstanding seller on AliExpress. Anyways, back to business. So I'm gonna do things a little bit differently. Actually, I made notes, and I do have a track list, kind of repping. This is the Sony NW-A35, by the way. Various genres and male and female vocals, old and new music, different music genres, like there's dubstep, so there's some Burial in here, older classic 70s rock, sort of pre-Loudness Wars. Classic 70s rock is sort of known for being a little bit of a softer, potentially softer recordings, potentially maybe a little bit more hiss than some of the newer stuff, maybe not in all cases, and some of it is considered some of the best recordings compared to Loudness Wars, sort of distorted bass madness. And I got classical music, Dance of the Bumblebee, which is that, you probably heard the song a million times, but it represents sort of violins and pianos and sort of whether or not these earphones can pull off that natural timbre of those classic instruments kind of thing. Death Around the Corner, which is sort of a hard, not only a hard hip-hop song, but in just sort of in hip-hop terms, but also a hard recording kind of thing. So it's a little sharper around the edges and has a deep bass track. So it just kind of reps whether or not these guys can handle that visceral bass kind of thing. It's Suburban War by Arcade Fire. Arcade Fire is kind of known for their shit recordings, so this is kind of a good example of a newer sort of crappy recording. Beach House is female vocals, and she's got a beautiful voice, the lead singer of Beach House. Anyways, and then of course more classic rock with Bruce Springsteen. So I did, and On the Run sort of is a classic panning sort of a song by probably one of my all-time favorite bands, Floyd. So which one's Pink, right? So anyways, that has great panning from left to right and in behind your head, and that will kind of tell me whether or not these guys can handle that. But anyways, that's the track list. Mostly 320 kilobits and AAC, the 256 Apple iTunes stuff, and I got a FLAC in here. I do listen to FLAC, but I have this is mostly AAC and MP3 just so I can fit all my music on this thing, right? So anyways, let's start with the Bro. So here it is. And first thing that popped out to me about this guy was it had really good clarity, but there was slight sibilance on some of the poorer recordings, for example, Arcade Fire, and I mean, even on the 2-pack track, a little bit of sibilance. But again, there's some good width, I should say, and not too much in the depth department in terms of soundstage. It's a strong performer with female vocals and kind of okay with male, in my opinion. And it's got like this great visceral bass response. The bass is actually quite good and quite strong and doesn't distort on this guy. And ever so slightly sort of peaky in the treble department. Not great at imaging, care of like On the Run, the Pink Floyd track. It's okay though, but the sound did kind of disappear behind my neck, so I wasn't overly blown away by the imaging. Anyways, so that's that. Let's move on to the ZS6 for a second. ZS6 actually was a surprisingly strong performer head-to-head, actually maybe technically the strongest performer of the bunch. And I've said it before, these are really strong technically. When did I start? The 2-pack track? Okay, there we go. Anyways, yeah, I've said it before, these guys are even better with bass than the Bro. They have this deep, really strong bass that's sort of, there's good separation between instruments and stuff like that, so the bass doesn't really bleed, but it does go very deep. It's actually a really strong performer in the bass department. It does have wider panning left to right than the NICEHCK Bro as well. It's really strong with pre-loudness wars tracks like the Floyd and Springsteen, so like I think classic rock is really the wheelhouse for these guys. If you're a fan of classic rock, buy a pair of these. You'll like them quite a bit, I bet. But it's a little too sibilant on sort of newer recordings. I did find with Beach House and with Tupac and stuff like that, and once again, like the Bro, a little bit sibilant. So they are great technically, but if you're gonna be listening to newer music, you're going to require EQ to fix the treble attack. And there's good stage depth to the stage, and imaging just in general is really quite excellent. So they were actually, I mean, technically these seem to be the best of the bunch in this competition. Well, no, because the ZS5 is coming up, but maybe second best. And we'll carry on. So the ES3. This is another under sort of $15 jobby. Noticeable driver flex as soon as I put them in, and that did remind me that these guys do have a problem with driver flex. They did immediately sound a little thinner sounding, and they weren't necessarily the greatest performer with vocals, in my opinion. Good depth to the stage, but slightly muddy imaging, I think. Decent clarity. Not sibilant in any case whatsoever, and a little bit hollow sounding in the upper mids, and sort of a tamed lower treble in direct comparison to the ZS6 and the Bro. So that's something to consider. It is a strong performer with hip-hop and dubstep, but bass will lose control and distorts a little bit. Like on the 2-pack song, I had some distortion in the bass department. But they were pleasant with classic rock, though not as great as the Bro or ZS6 in that department. Is a bit of hiss. I'm not sure if that means that they're the most sensitive of the bunch, but noticeably a little bit more hiss than the previous two, in my opinion. Yeah, it's the ES3. So they're good. I mean, not great, but good. ZSR, actually similar to the ES3, but better. So we're talking like these guys are like brothers, but better technically. So it's extremely close. There is more bass control. There was no distortion on Death Around the Corner, the Pac song. There was no sibilance. That's good. V-shaped and a little bit scooped in the mids department, in my opinion. Good panning, so the music travels behind my neck in the panning on the Run by Floyd. But the imaging is strong. It's got a slightly smaller stage than like the ZS6, for example. Not so good in the classical music department, and timbre is a little bit unnatural for me. I don't find that they sounded as natural as the ZS6, for example. And my babies, the ZS5 V1, and anyone that's watched my videos knows I really like these guys. So immediate clarity jump from the ZSR and ES3, I should say, for example. And on the clarity level, right up there, resolution is amazing on these guys. And what I mean by that is they're just the combined facets of all music, of all the sort of musicality. So it's able to hit all the notes, and it crosses the T's, dots the I's, all that shit. Great treble, perfect treble tuning. Sounds nice across multiple genres. It's kind of an all-rounder. It is an all-rounder. It just has the tremendous resolution. Sounds full, and makes the music sound full and natural kind of thing. Very good panning. The sound stage does not like appear quite as wide as the ZS6, but overall it has a more natural sound, so it's still very good. And it's the best all-arounder. It's great with female and male vocals and just vocals in general kind of thing. And the ES4, which I've been listening to a lot lately. So I wanted to see how these compared head-to-head, and they fared well. So as I suspected, they were noticeably the most neutral of the bunch. Tame, I would call them tame, but still musical. And if you're treble sensitive, these are the only choice. This is your choice number one. So it is also a very good all-arounder, but on older, softer recordings, maybe almost too tame. And it is perfect for newer recordings, post-loudness wars kind of thing. Stage is good, but not great, because that's a perception. So the imaging is good, but because of the tuning perception, it may not be considered as good as like the ZS5 or the ZS6. This, that could be like an audio trickery type thing. But there it is, man. And that's like sort of a head-to-head. I hope that helps with your decision making. That's all I'm trying to do. Like, once again, I'm just trying to help people out here, and this is one person's opinion. Everyone's ears are different. So factor that into any decision making you make. I'm hoping to help you out. If you like the videos, give them a thumbs up, and thanks for watching as always. Cheers, guys.